Does. More does. We'll try. We'll call Eric.
To cut those cuts. Hey, it's Dave. Yes.
Need your help, man. I'm frustrated. You know, we can't get any pictures of any bucks, dude. We're a trail camera company, and all I get is doe after doe after doe. What's the chance? What's the chance you guys will load up and come down to Kentucky and give us a picture?
You know what? I think our schedule's pretty free. Let us finish up filming here, man, and we'll head down to Kentucky. We're headed to Lewisburg, Kentucky to visit one of our sponsors, Covert Scouting Cameras. Come along, you're watching Reality Deer Management.
This is it, man.
This is it. This is what you're talking about on the phone.
This is it. It's roughly 220 acres.
Okay.
About 30% hardwoods, overly mature, very poorly managed.
All right.
And the rest is just this open, vast openness.
Okay. Where to start? I guess basically is where to start is, I mean, how many people are hunting the property?
It kind of depends, but never more than 3 people at a time.
Really?
We bring in different folks, you know, that we want to, you know, show our products to and that kind of stuff. So.
What's the neighbor situation like here?
Not good.
Not good?
We've got a lot of neighbors for one. There's a lot of property owners that connect us. Not that many, really. I mean, there's several, but they bring in lots of friends and family. And there's no management. We can't get cooperation from the neighbors to really.
That's frustrating.
Oh, it is, yeah, because you know we know what happens. We're not holding deer. We're not holding bucks here.
Obviously.
So when we pass on a nice 2-year-old, he walks across the fence row, and so.
Yep. And all those things are very fixable. The neighbor thing, we do what we can. You know, the best thing to do with the neighbors, and I know we talked about it on the phone a little bit, is just, you know, try your best to talk to them, and not be pushy.
Yeah.
Just tell them, and you know what, the biggest thing is results will help you.
Yeah.
But we have to manage this first. And with neighbor problems, you know what, we need to know that stuff so we can manage, you know, we try to get everything centralized and just, you know, provide a stress-free environment. Remember, stress dictates everything. Milk production, antler development, everything. You know, we both know those older class whitetails will leave any property.
Oh, yeah.
It could have all the food in the world, you know, and he will leave if you're over hunting it or it's stressed by whatever. He's gone. He's going to go to, you know, cover, you know. But with this type of environment, we can provide that cover, that stress-free environment, and provide that food that he needs. That's going to be attractive to does and everything else. So we just need to start at the beginning here and just go from there. Anything beneficial is going to come from you, and that's what's awesome as a QDM type philosophy. This is incredible stuff. So. Well, let's walk around some more and go from there.
Good deal.
So, all righty, man.
Let's go look at these woods.
Yes, let's go look at the woods. Yeah, I can see why. I mean, the deer are not really utilizing this property, you know, to its fullest potential. I mean, this is what we call a biological desert. I mean, what deer you didn't spook out of the field coming in, because that's a biological desert. I mean, they come in here, they're really gone off the property. There's just no cover for them. There's absolutely zero cover here.
Well, what do we do to not spend a ton of money on getting somebody in here to get out this stuff that we don't want anymore? I mean, how do we do that without just dumping? Yeah,
there's two options that you have to make this what you want it to be. You could do it yourself or have a professional logger come in, and we'll address each real quick. You know, if you do it yourself, you know, people say, I just don't have the time, or you know, there's a lot of work. Well, let's just say we were going to take this section right here, you know, a 30-yard circumference. And what you're doing is basically getting a chainsaw and doing a miniature clear cut, 30-yard clear cut, okay? You're cutting everything down or hinge cutting it, when all that is just getting a tree of this diameter, cutting it in half and maybe pushing it over, and the tree's still living, okay? But it's still hitting, sunlight's still hitting the forest floor, and everything's growing, it's providing food. So basically, what a lot of people do is they look at this and go, roughly 15 trees to cut. That's a lot of work. That's roughly an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of work right there, even though it's only 15 trees. No, never look at the ground level when you're going to do it yourself. Always look up at the canopy. And roughly, if you do that, you're only looking at 3 or 4 trees. So you cut yourself down from 15 to 3. And you just do that every so often. You make some small, because that's the next question we get asked a lot. How big, how small, you know, whatever. Diversify your property, just like your old field type environments. Some big, some small. And all you're doing is letting that sunlight hit the forest floor, provide tonnage of food. The greenbrier, the soft maple, the poplar, that's all forage. And if you added those old field environment up with the wildlife openings, if you will, you're looking at 2,000 to 3,000 pounds of food on up, maybe to 4, a tonnage of food per acre. Early part of the year, later part of the year. You know, when your food plots are starting to degrade in the wintertime, this is going to pick up the slack. But the best thing about it is that you're providing that stress-free environment. You can walk in here without spooking the deer. If we manage the old field type environment, same thing. You're increasing the stress tolerance of your property, providing cover. That equals food. So you can come in here and do your thing. We have people that ride the four-wheelers and mow and like kind of tractors. That's going to solve that problem. It's going to increase the stress tolerance. Those deer are not going to, they're going to feel safe. They're not going to leave the property as much. Not going to solve it. It's going to solve the neighbor situation by providing cover that equals food. They're going to be on you. The same thing as the people driving around on the property or utilizing the property to its, you know, whatever they want to do.
That's an important part of this, is we want to be able to come down to the lake and fish.
Yes.
The landowner's dad likes to drive around the
Yes.
property in the evening. So
yes.
That's, you know,
Yeah.
I was worried about telling them no more, because that's a concern.
Yeah, and but you have to get the environment established for all that to work out, and it will. All you have to do is start doing the work. And then if you have the professional logger come in and do it, you know what? They're going to do the same thing under your guidance, and make sure it's your guidance, you're in charge. You're actually going to get some coin out of it. So, and the best thing about it, everything that we've talked about for the most part, from the old field environment to this, hasn't really cost you a dime.
Yeah.
And it's benefiting the deer. It's a no-brainer. It's a slam dunk.
And we can make some money off it.
Absolutely. You're walking away. You know, so, well, let's go look at that other property, or other section of property you were talking about.
Yeah, we got some timber that's a little more recent cut than this.
Oh, awesome. I noticed from the one edge to this edge is that we have a flat here in the woods. And this is a perfect opportunity to do some different type of timber management that would benefit the hunting aspect of it and your food source. It's coming here what we call doing some hinge cuts. I know we talked about it briefly over there, is that basically you're just going in and just cutting trees of, you know, diameter that you feel comfortable about cutting in half and pushing over. And that's crucial right there, is only doing trees that you feel comfortable without hurting yourself or anybody that's with you over. And what you're doing is you're creating more edge effect, okay? All that browse. I mean, for example, long story short, beautiful food source. Brassica, knee-high, leaves cover your face. Anyway, the deer, this 3-year-old buck came out and fed on there for 40 minutes and only spent 5 minutes out in the food plot. The client says, that food plot was a joke. I said, no, that deer did exactly what we wanted him to do. Stress-free environment, came out there, ate some protein, ate the browse that has the mineral, the protein in it as well, and, you know, socialized a little bit and then went back. But do you hunt the food source? No. You want to hunt between that wildlife opening that we created and this edge effect. And that's like knowing what utilizing your guys' cameras. That's where the cameras come in, you know? And that's where you learn where to be, where not to be, by doing camera surveys and stuff like that. And there are times they're going to be hunting here. that's where you want to be hunting, not telling anybody how to hunt. That's just it's what we're finding out. Don't hunt the food source, get back there. And if you do this
really, this is the food source. This is where they're spending the bulk of their, eating the bulk of their food here.
Yeah.
And this is, what'd you say, 70-30?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's just not that deer. There's many occasions. I mean, we want him eating that. That deer did exactly what we wanted to do, which is going to save that food source for later, come fall and winter time. You know, you're not over browsing that food source because you're feeding them what they should be eating.
Gotcha.
So, and then using cameras to find out what's going on, you know, and it's a no-brainer. So, all right.
Awesome.
Yep. Let's go on to the next place. One thing we haven't really talked about on your farm is, you know, supplemental food sources. And, you know, we're at one of your guys' food plots, correct?
Yep. This is a new, I haven't measured it. I'm assuming it's probably half an acre, maybe a little more, brassicas. And it's the first time we planted brassicas on the farm.
Okay.
So, you know, there's a lot of talk in Kentucky that deer don't really eat brassicas. And I think it's because people don't give them time, you know, to really.
That's one thing, just real briefly talk about that, is that sometimes you got to train those deer to eat something. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but you got to give it a couple years if they're not used to it.
Yeah.
But when they do, you're going to be so happy that you stuck with it. But one thing on the property, you know, we talked about native vegetation, timber management, all to create food, and that's one thing. A lot of that was nutritional, you know. And you guys being enrolled in a CRP program, you can't do large-scale type nutritional food plots. And I would advise not doing that at all anyway, because if you manage your native vegetation like you guys are going to, you don't have to worry about nutritional food plots, because that's where the cost comes in with herbicide and mowing and being out here all the time. Don't worry about clover and stuff like that. If you manage your native vegetation, that's where they're going to get their nutrition anyway, with the cost, cutting the cost down. The big thing that you guys need to start doing is thinking 365 days for your nutritional program. And there's a void between, I know in Ohio, and I can't see why it wouldn't be any different in Kentucky for you guys, is that March and April, there's like hardly the deer are in starvation or secondary food sources. There's no green up yet, and those does and those bucks are starting to change. Their body's starting to change, and there's that void they can get through, and that's where like winter wheat would come. I would highly suggest planting some winter wheat somewhere on the property, several places. Don't have to be big. And winter wheat's 14%, 15%. You know, that's close enough to what we're trying to reach. It's something. It's better than nothing. So start doing that, I would suggest. And that keeps those deer on your property longer, utilizing the property longer. That solves the neighbor problem and stuff like that. So, you know, the brassica type stuff, I noticed in your food sources that you didn't spray before you disc and everything like that. For that stuff to reach its potential, you gotta start using herbicide and fertilizing, taking the soil test and stuff like that. But that's neat. You do what you can, and stuff like that would do the time. And you know, you're sticking some cameras on. I'm looking forward to seeing some camera work on this.
We're gonna check some cameras for the days out.
I don't know where you get those at, but I think you can buy the cameras. So. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Today, we basically just hopefully showed you how to effectively manage a piece of property on a budget with time and limited resources. We went over timber stand improvement, how to go about it yourself and with a logger. We also went over the old field type habitats where just a little bit of herbicide and a little bit of patience, I tell you what, you can take a field that's mediocre into something where it's producing tonnage of forage. You know, we went over a lot of things. The big thing is, if you don't know, please call us. That's what we're here for. Also, please check out Covert scouting cameras. Go to our link page. They have some phenomenal cameras. They have a variety of cameras. We use them. We love them. We put our name on them. And as always, as my grandpa used to say, no hurry, no worry, keep moving. And since my son's not here to say it for me, I'm going to say it for him. See you next time on Reality Deer Management.
Reality Deer Management was brought to you by Kaufman Realty and Auction, Merit Seed, Kagera Fishing Lures, Holmes Laboratory, Covert Scouting Cameras, Base Camp Leasing, Modern Habitat Solutions.
I can loan you some of this if you ever need it.
I might need it. I have no plot.